Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time it is all about Moviepass, the entertainment industry's Icarus. Now this is a company that, while it is still technically open for business, the writing is definitely on the wall. When you have a service that completely crashes, when you are unable to continue operating business because you run out of money and need a $5 million loan to keep the doors open, when your stocks and your shares have plummeted to 50 cents, and when you're resorting to raising the prices of your subscription and shuttering blockbuster films away and off from your subscriber base, it's not much of a stretch to say that the end is near. And I wanted to make this video not to talk about how bad or how poor or how much of a incompetent asshole Mitch Lowe is, or how bad the company is and how much it was damaging the entertainment industry and it's a good thing that it's falling back to earth and it's crashing and burning. I wanted to talk about Moviepass because I feel that it was not necessarily a bad idea. It was a good idea, and it was what happened with Moviepass recently is a prime example of a company that flew way too high, way too fast, and were not able to sustain it. They are, in essence, Icarus. They built wings, they flew high, they ended up experiencing what it's like to soar amongst the clouds, and then they flew too close to the sun, their wings fell apart, and they fell crashing back down to the earth. They shot for the stars, they almost got there, but they did not manage to get all the way out of the stratosphere. You know, they got into the atmosphere, to the stratosphere, they got to the point where you can see the stars in space, and then they just fell hard. It's a case of a company that was not unscrupulous, that was not trying to scam people. It was a company that was too ambitious. Their main flaw, their main error was being too ambitious, offering people a service that was not necessarily too good to be true, but a service that was unsustainable. And it's one of those services that I'm actually honestly glad I was along for the ride for as little bit as I was. I honestly wish I got on and I was on the ride for longer than I was. I wish I was a subscriber earlier, because this is a particular subscription service and a concept that is a real game changer. It also enabled me to see films in the theater and to go to the theater more and to have that experience more than I had done in the past. And in a lot of ways, I personally feel Moviepass has helped the theaters. It has helped the theater business, and I don't feel it's really necessarily hurt it as much as other people might like to suggest. The numbers say that only 5% of sales were because of Moviepass. And if you tally up those sales, I'm pretty sure that a lot of those Moviepass sales also led to higher concession sales for these theaters. Theaters don't make their money off of movie tickets. Theaters make their money off of concessions. And when people are using a Moviepass and they don't have to spend over $10 for a movie, they're more than willing to spend more in concessions. It's a win-win scenario. And that's why companies like AMC Entertainment are borrowing Moviepass's model. They are essentially vultures circling over Moviepass's corpse and waiting for it to die off so they can take its place. And these are the very companies that were upset at Moviepass, that wanted them to die off beforehand, that didn't like them. And then what's ironic is that AMC is the very company, the first theater company, that is having their own service that is in essence Moviepass. I don't think AMC was upset at them for encroaching on their territory. I personally feel that AMC was jealous. AMC wanted that piece of the pie. AMC realized that they weren't going to get that piece of the pie, so they were pissed off. So then they made a stink about it, and then they tried to boycott Moviepass, and then they made their own service. So now they can get all of the pie, which is what they wanted to begin with. Moviepass is also not a new company, folks. Moviepass has been around since 2011. It was established 7 years ago by Stacy Spikes and Hammett Watt. The current CEO, Mitch Lowe, has been there for a couple years. The service went through several different pricing structures following its original invite-only launch, which included those limited to only 2 or 3 films a month, and unlimited plans with pricing based on the market size at the time. Then, in August of 2017, they announced that they would switch to offering a plan with a single film per day priced at $9.95 a month. And this change of business came with the acquisition of a majority stake in the company by an analytics firm, which this firm sought to widen the service's reach so it could collect more information on customers' viewing habits. Now, I see that's one thing that some people might look at as being a bit shady. But anywhere you go on the internet, Google's monitoring what you're doing, Facebook's monitoring what you're doing. They're doing all of that anyway. It's like if you have an Echo in your house, that's monitoring things. Amazon's monitoring things. That's all part of marketing. I don't necessarily see that as something that's a deal breaker for me, or is shocking, or is like, oh my God, how could they? It's one of those things that I'm not surprised. And if it wasn't for that company putting anything into them, then they wouldn't really be able to be in the position that they were in for a year. And this is a company that essentially swung for the fences. It was like $9.95, a movie a day. You pay $9.95 a month, you can see a movie a day. You can't see IMAX or 3D films, but you can see a movie a day for $10 a month. Less than what you pay for Netflix unless you're paying for the standard plan with the standard definition plan. Less than what you pay for Hulu. Less than what you pay for a lot of these other streaming services. And you could see the films in the theater. It's a win-win. And just like that, their subscriber base exploded. They ended up getting millions of subscribers in a very short amount of time, which was really surprising and something that a lot of business insiders did not see coming. It came out of nowhere. They got to 1 million subscribers, and then before long they got to 2 million and 3 million. They got to just a crazy amount of subscribers who were paying $10 a month. And I am one of them. And if the company is out of business by the time, well, it's still going to be a business by the time I post this, but if it's out of business in the future, if you're watching this video, I was one of them. And it was well worth it. $10 a month, I could see any movie I want. There are movies that I would have never seen in the theater and paid full price to see that I saw in the theater because of Moviepass. I know I'm not alone on that. A lot of people have done that and have given those films money and support that they probably would not have gotten otherwise. Then they started to change some things around. They started to implement a few different changes. They started to roll out some things like you need to take a picture of your ticket in order to verify what's going on, which I have no issue with that, because another reason why the company is struggling is because of the fact that there were a lot of people who were abusing the opportunity that they had. There were a lot of people who were abusing the subscription. They were finding ways to get around things and breaking the rules, and essentially ruining it for a lot of the people who weren't breaking the rules and trying to skirt the outside of the law when it comes to what was allowed with Moviepass and what was not. And they also started to implement a few things, or mentioned that they were going to implement things like peak pricing and so on and so forth. And, of course, all the while, they were intentionally burning millions of dollars, thousands, millions of dollars, just burning it, lighting it up, and letting it burn. Because they were hoping that movie theater companies like AMC or Regal Cinemas, or even maybe some restaurant companies or something, would partner up with them. They were hoping that with their $3 million subscriber base, that they would entice enough people, enough companies, to be willing to invest in them. And that's admirable. That's something that I don't necessarily feel was in essence a bad thing, or something that was done just to get people's money. Yes, that's part of it. You know, get some money in the process, but it was a plan for the future. Because for the time being, for the present, they weren't making a cent. They weren't making any money. And if they were trying to scam you, or if they were trying to take your money, they would have taken it already, because they need your money. They could definitely use your money right now. But they didn't. They didn't steal money from people's bank accounts. They weren't taking people's numbers on their debit cards and all their other things and using it and taking money out without people's permission. At least that hasn't happened yet as of this video. They weren't doing any of that. They were still providing people with a service that was really awesome and really cool, but all the while knowing that they are running out of money, that they are intentionally burning as much money as possible in the hope that they will end up making more money in the future. Which isn't necessarily that different than some of these other startup businesses. See, the thing is, Netflix, Amazon, they all started off small too. They didn't start off making a profit. They started off in the red as well. And then once things got better, they started to get people that sponsored them. They got people who ended up partnering with them. Then things started to turn around. I remember being a subscriber of Netflix when they were still just sending out DVDs. They didn't even do streaming yet. They weren't even into that yet. They were just doing DVDs. And that's why a company like Blockbuster didn't buy them, because they were just shipping out DVDs at the time. Streaming was in its infancy. The most you could stream is stuff on YouTube and some trailers. I remember a time when you'd go to Netflix and you would be able to stream and watch movie trailers on the website. That's what you could stream. You couldn't stream the movies, you could stream movie trailers. And then they started to have some movies as well. Limited amount of movies that you could stream, and most of them weren't in HD, but still, it still became an option that was available to you. Of course, then as the years went by, they started really adopting that model, and that is essentially what they're known for now. But in the beginning, they were just a DVD subscription service. They were a DVD rental subscription service. That's what they were. And with Amazon, they were just kind of just in the weeds, just kind of trying to make ends meet. So Moviepass is not alone when it comes to that particular approach. But the thing with Moviepass, though, is that they swung for the fences and they didn't hit a home run. They got a nice play, you know, they hit the ball and they got the runner to like second base, but they didn't hit a home run. And because of that, their business model, their concept, their theory that if we spend all this money, we're going to get more money, has backfired. Because AMC, didn't want to do business with them. A lot of these other theaters don't seem to be wanting to do business with them, and especially not now when they are not in the best light. I mean, when you run out of money and you need to borrow $5 million to stay open, and your stocks are 50 cents, there's not going to be a lot of people who want or will be willing to partner with you. And the concepts and the ideas that they had of partnering with restaurants and stuff to also help offset those costs, they were stolen by other people, their competitors. Cinema, their competitor, just recently had and set up an agreement with restaurants.com. So Cinema stole Moviepass's idea of partnering up with restaurants in order to bolster their own profits. Moviepass was the one with all these ideas and all these goals and all these sites and all these things that it wanted to see and it wanted to do with their company. But because of the fact that they were not able to get anyone that was willing to partner with them, they essentially are left in the desert to starve, to die of starvation and thirst, and to waste away, while their competitors pick up where they left off, pick their carcass clean, and take whatever ideas that they had and use them to their own fruition. Like I said, Moviepass is a company that was a smaller company at the start. They had some new management, they got an investor, and they decided that they wanted to do bigger things. And instead of waiting a bit, maybe building up a nice little nest egg, or just going with their same business model, they decided to go big or go home. And they're going home. But I'm not necessarily one of those people that's upset at them or pissed off at them. They offered a service that was desirable to me and to a lot of other people for a price that was just unreal. It was ridiculous. Is it necessarily too good to be true? I don't know if that's the right way to put it, because it happened. It's not like it was a fantasy. It happened. But it was definitely too ambitious. Regardless of what happens with Moviepass, whether they go under or whether they stay in business, they have left an undeniable impact on the entertainment industry. Yes, there were other companies before them, like Cinema, who were doing some of the same things, but Cinema never had the impact that Moviepass had. Cinema was never something that ended up in the media as much. Cinema wasn't a company that had a service that was appealing to millions of people. Cinema has some nice options. They have some nice perks that Moviepass doesn't have. Like, you can watch IMAX and 3D films, but you can only watch 3 movies a month, tops. Moviepass offered you the ability to watch a movie a day. No other subscription service enabled its user to be able to do that. So, because of that, more people, and people who weren't really going to the theater, went back to the theater. So this now shows that this is a good idea. That in execution, it was a failure in a lot of ways, because you should not really go in and do something where you essentially pay for movie tickets, put them on a card, a debit card, and charge $10 a month and effectively just burn millions of dollars over and over and over again in hope and pray that somebody will come in and partner with you. That's not really the best business plan. This is definitely a company that will be discussed and talked about for years to come in all types of business classes and in business schools all over the world as an example of what not to do. The concept itself isn't a bad idea. It's the execution that isn't necessarily the best, and it's an instance of a company that flew way too high, way too fast, and didn't have any plan set in place or a cushion available for if and when they fell. I wouldn't necessarily say it's tragic. That's not the right way to put it. But the fact that they really did have the interests of their audience in mind. The best interests of their audience. They wanted to give their new subscriber base the best movie experience they possibly could. Give them all these different options. Give them the ability to see so many different movies for a cheap price. For me, that shows to me that they weren't trying to do this just for the money, because they knew that they were going to be losing and just hemorrhaging money. But they did it anyway. And you can call that foolish, you can call that silly. You could also call it admirable. You could call it interesting. You could call it intriguing. But to me, that shows the passion that they have for their company and the fact that they were trying to do whatever they could to make it bigger and better and give people this really once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see these films in the theater and do all of this with a business model that a lot of people didn't know even existed and didn't even know was even a thing. And because of that, there will undoubtedly be other companies that will come in and try to do a similar thing. But it won't be as unlimited. It won't be as wide and as vast in the selection and the flexibility that Moviepass offered. Because it was not a sustainable business model. Just like Icarus could not fly all the way up to the sun and survive. The glue in his wings melted. Moviepass could not fly that high. They didn't build their company the right way to be able to do that. And it's highly unlikely that any company would be able to do that. But the balls and the guts of Moviepass to take that chance, to take that risk, to me, that is admirable. They did it. They went against what all these people said, what all these other business experts and so on said, and they took that risk, and it didn't pay off, but they still took that risk. And I don't feel that this should be a deterrence from any other startup company from trying to take a similar approach, at least when it comes to taking a big risk, because there are plenty of instances where that risk pays off in a big way, just like there are other instances where it doesn't. But if you're a small company and you're kind of struggling to make ends meet anyway, what do you have to lose by taking a big risk and swinging for the fences and hoping that you will end up in a better situation, that you'll end up making more profit than you've ever seen before? If you're going to go under anyway, why not go out with a bang? And why not give a bunch of people a really nice, cool, awesome opportunity to see as many films as they want in a month. I mean, at least as it's, you know, one film a day. To see one film a day, a month, for $10. It's a deal that I mean, I'd gladly signed up for. And I know I'm not alone on that. Regardless of whether or not it was the best idea or it was that well thought out. It's a good deal. So yeah, I don't know what else to say about Moviepass except I honestly wish them well. I wish them well if they manage to survive after this, or even if they don't. They gave me a nice ride, a really nice experience. I, unlike some other people, never had any issues with them. So maybe that's part of it. And for the people that have had issues with them, I definitely understand why you're upset with the company, and I don't blame you. But I didn't get my card late. I didn't have any issues with the app. I didn't have any issues with the company, period. I didn't have issues with customer service because there was no reason for me to talk to them. Because I had no customer service issues. I had no issues that needed customer service. So maybe I'm in the minority there. I don't know. But from what my experience has been with Moviepass, it's been nothing but pleasant. It's been nothing but a really cool and fun experience to be able to just whip out my card, use the app, go see a bunch of different movies a month. And especially for someone like me, who my income is very tight, it opened up the opportunity to see films in the theater that I didn't have before. And I will always give Moviepass respect and appreciation for allowing me to be able to do that. So anyway, yeah, those are my thoughts on Moviepass, the entertainment industry's Icarus, and thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you later. See ya.